It's a weird time right now. Yesterday, we cracked a new all-time high. And I remember back in the day in 2021, where we just broke the previous high and we established a new all-time high. The market was running hot. Everybody was talking about crypto. But today, the market is pretty much dead. Nobody's talking about it. There is no euphoria. There is no real hype coming in. So, of course, the question right now is, are we in the very beginning stages of a huge crypto boom, of a comeback of altcoins and NFTs, or is this already the top and the market is about to die down from here onwards? I'm gonna tell you exactly what we see in the charts right now, so stay tuned, we're jumping right in. Hello and welcome to another video by HKCM Global. My name is Joe, and yesterday evening, I opened my phone and to a pop-up notification that Bitcoin has established a new all-time high. And by the way, a quite significant one. We're not just talking about a couple of dollars, but so far almost a new all-time high by 10%. And so right now in this video, we will take a little look into the current sentiment. We will talk about historical developments in Bitcoin. And of course, I brought you our chart outlook and current analysis for both Bitcoin and Ethereum. And I am going to tell you exactly where our price targets are and how we have performed with those price targets in the most recent cycle of 2021. We will draw some historical comparisons. And since your time is as valuable as mine, I'm not going to waste any more of it and we're jumping right in. So what you can see here in the chart right now, exactly as we speak, we are picture perfectly entering our short target zone. Yes, right, our short target zone for Bitcoin for the most imminent outlook. I couldn't have planned it more perfectly. I have in the past, the last couple of hours already seen 118,000 on the chart. Right now we are sitting at 117,565 and our target zone, as you can see here, starts on the lower boundary at 117,553. So pretty much a picture perfect tickling of the lower boundary to our target zone here. And so then what does that mean? So for everybody who is maybe not following this channel here for an extended amount of time, but is rather new, we do Elliott Wave count analysis. And we have specialized in this field of technical analysis for a number of years. And before I'm about to share with you how we called the last Bitcoin top correctly in a pretty similar matter, I'm gonna share with you the basics of what we're doing here. So we have established a wave 1 top back in January of this year, 2025. And this wave 1 top was formed by an overreaching or underlying, shall I say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave structure to the underlying wave 5. If all of this is new to you, it will become more clear as we go along. So basically, in Elliott Wave theory, every impulsive sustained market move has to be comprised out of a 5-wave understructure. So wave 1 up, wave 2 corrective mode, wave 3 up, wave 4 corrective mode, and then a final closing wave 5 upwards move again. So in both directions, basically, upwards as well as downwards. And so every one of these 5-wave upwards moves then has to be corrected by a 3-wave corrective mode before the next 5-wave upward structure can be established. And this is what we're seeing here. So far we have concluded that the wave 1 top has been established here in this high at $109,000 back in January of 2025, and ever since we are working here on this A, B, C corrective mode, so 1, 2, 3, but the corrective modes are called A, B, C, and this then in turn, as well as this wave 1 and the wave 5 underlying it, has had this underlying 5-wave upward structure. This wave 3 downward structure also is the underlying wave count for this overreaching big, you can see here, wave 1, and we have this A, B, C corrective mode that is to be expected from here onward. And right now we are in the bigger picture of this A, B, C downward move. We are inside this wave A and also inside this wave A here in lowercase letters. We are currently in this A, B, C. So the 3-part understructure to the overlying 3-part corrective structure. And if you are now thinking to yourself, that cannot be, we have just printed a new all-time high, everything looks perfect, and even if we go to the balances on exchange, for example, you can see a unbroken downward trend of the balances on exchange, meaning all the more Bitcoins are being pulled from the exchanges and there's no Bitcoins being sent to the exchanges for being sold. I want to share with you something that we have seen in the past for Bitcoin. So before I'm going to talk with you here about our long-term outlook, here in the past, right, in 2021, leading into 2022 almost, we have seen a Bitcoin top in April of 2021. Then we have seen a strong correction. Everybody was fearing at first until a new all-time high was established in November of 2021. And everybody, of course, was cheering. Perfect. This is the start of the real bull market, because back then the new all-time high was only surpassing the previous all-time high of 2017 by a factor of 3 or 4, which is quite a bit, but in Bitcoin standards, that wasn't that much. And a very similar thing is happening right now. Back then, we have established an all-time high at $69,000-ish, I do believe. So if we would be currently already topping out at just shy of $120,000, this would catch many investors off guard. Nobody is currently expecting this because everybody's expecting way higher highs. Because from this last all-time high, this would not even be a 2x, right? So similar story as back in the day when everybody at $69,000 was saying, you know, this is only a 3.5, not even a 4x from the previous cycle back in 2017. Similar story today. It would feel odd that we would already see the Bitcoin top being in, but back then, many people were calling for the real rally to start right now here with the establishing of this Bitcoin high of $69,000, but what we had predicted back then. And I'm gonna share now a little bit of history with you. Back then, this company, this channel here of HKCM Global was not yet established. Back then, we only had our German presence based in Stuttgart, Germany. And here we have a video on YouTube. I searched it for you, and here you can see the timestamp, right? So 3rd of November, 2021. And back then, as you can see here, we were already before talking about the market top and crash. And back then, what we had concluded is that likewise, as today, the new all-time high that was established, we did not count this as an impulsive structure, but we had counted it as a wave B corrective mode, the very same thing that we see right now. And back then, the rest is history, I guess, right? You know what happened. We entered into a huge, huge, deep corrective mode from here onward. And if you are an investor for a couple of years already, you remember that. And sadly, it hurts me to say, but we see a similar thing unfolding right now. We also likewise see this new all-time high as not forming an impulsive understructure, but as forming a corrective understructure. And so we cannot do differently but to call this a corrective new all-time high, meaning that this all-time high is not expected to be sustained, but is to be expected as being sold off in the rather near future. Meaning, inside this target zone, we currently still have a couple of more percentage points to go. So the upper boundary here for the wave B extension here is the 161.8 Fibonacci retracement, and up until this point this would still be 11-12% almost to go from here onwards. So this marker you can see here, we're talking about $130,000, 891, so just shy of $131,000. And latest by this point, we currently do expect a trend reversal and we do expect a sell-off into this midterm target zone here between roughly $51,000 and $62,000 on the upper. But what do we see from there onward? It even goes further. So this target zone here still, I mean, it is a far ways off. This is more than a 50% correction that we are expecting here. This is madness. I'm quite aware that this is madness and that this is a super bold call. But we have had this prediction for really quite some time and we're sticking with it. And so far, the course has followed it. But in the grand scheme of things, this would not even be the final bottom that we see for Bitcoin. But if we switch here to the more midterm, long-term outlook, shall I say, you can see that we have an even lower target zone here. So this midterm target zone would then only be the bottom for the first leg down, which would be continued by a next leg up, corrective mode as well, and a final sell-off into our final target zone that I have brought for you here on the Bitcoin 2 chart. And this final target zone would be in the area of 26,000 on the lower boundary to 37,000 on the upper boundary. So we are talking below $40,000. So only a third from current price levels. And only then would we see a final prolonged bottom in the market that will lay the foundation for a new real rally in Bitcoin. This is our very clear primary scenario. But as you have maybe seen here in this chart, we also do have an alternative scenario. And in this alternative scenario, we would not yet have seen the wave 1 top in here already, but we would only have seen, instead of this wave 5 top here completing the wave 1 top, we would only have seen the wave 3 top here. This would not have been the first leg of the corrective mode, but the wave 4 corrective mode of the underlying 5-wave structure. And we would only then here see the final wave 5 top completing the overreaching wave 1 top in our alternative scenario. And this could potentially carry us somewhere in the area of 140 to 145-ish thousand dollars. This alternative scenario though is currently only estimated at a 35% probability. So even if we're coming back to charts like this one, and there's many others that display a sentiment right now that is not hyped at all, and even if we come back to charts like this one, where we can see that the balances on exchanges still are in an unbroken downward trend, which is a clear bullish sign, there's no other way to put it. This would then give us even more room inside the price action for this trend to then finally reverse to the upside, because we do need some fundamental trend reversals for this corrective mode to really play out as we predict. I'm being super transparent with you here. There is quite a few underlying macro charts that speak a different story. But in the financial markets, it's always like this, right? There's always indicators that point to the upside, and there's always indicators that point to the downside. Otherwise, every chart would either just be going straight up to the moon or completely crashing to zero if every single metric out there would just speak one clear language of bullish or bearish news. And in times that are as confusing as right now, it's all that more valuable if you have an analysis that you can really trust and if you have guidance in the market. And so there's two things that I could advise you with. First of all, if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell notifications. And no, this is not the end of this video. There's still quite a bit to go. We still have Ethereum to talk about. Very different story for Ethereum from what I'm telling you here in Bitcoin. And secondly, what I would advise you with, down there in the description, there's a link taking you to our website. We have 200 assets, cryptocurrencies, commodities, stocks that we analyze on a daily basis. And for every single subscriber, we send out updates every single day. We send out push notifications. If anything changes, we send out entries to our model portfolio where we ourselves enter into the market. And if that sounds of interest to you, check it out. And if not, I'm very glad to serve you here with free value without any charges for you. So regarding our long-term outlook for Bitcoin, even though we just spoke about that we expect a wave 2 corrective and a rather deep 2 corrective mode to come into Bitcoin here, in the grand scheme of things, this one in blue here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves upward structure leading to the overreaching wave 3 here in brackets is our expected only wave 3 here of the overreaching wave 5 upwards move. And for this, we also do have long-term targets. And these long-term targets currently for this wave 3, we're currently still in, even with this deep correction in the area of 40,000 that we just spoke about. You know, this is around this area here in the chart. Even in this grand scheme of things, we still expect the price action as to be in this overreaching wave 3. And for this overreaching wave 3, we are talking about a price target on the lower limit of 198, give or take, $1,000 and $235,000 on the upper boundary. This is our long-term projection for Bitcoin, even though we have a very clear position that in the meantime, we have to go quite a bit lower before we reach those levels. So in opposition, for everybody who might be telling you 200,000, 250,000 is the next move for Bitcoin. Well, yes, but no. So we do also see that in their chart. But before we have this very clear position that we have to get a huge, deep, prolonged correction in before this can be established. And the deal with Ethereum is somewhat similar, but also quite different. So for Ethereum, we likewise have established a wave 1 top count here in April of 2021. So this perfectly correlates with the Bitcoin top that we also see over here in April of 2021. The difference, however, is that with Ethereum, we have yet not seen any real conclusion of the wave 2 corrective mode that has to follow before a prolonged, sustained upwards move can be established. Because for Bitcoin, as you see here, we have established a clean A, B, C correction completing the overreaching wave 2. This is why we have here a huge accumulation zone that was wildly successful until now. And for Ethereum, the story is different. For Ethereum, we conclude that so far we have only seen an ABC leading to a W, X, Y corrective mode and the wave Y leg down, final wave Y leg down, completing then the wave 2 here in brackets is not yet completed. And that means on a pure price action basis, Ethereum has far less energy to go through with its moves because it has yet not completed this necessary wave 2 corrective mode that is the crucial foundation for price action. So for everybody who's wondering why Ethereum is not performing, why all the altcoins are still down, Ethereum is the grandfather of all altcoins. Ethereum is the mothership of altcoins. If Ethereum is not taking off, altcoins are not taking off. Period. And this wave count that I'm sharing with you here is the exact reason why that is the case. Ethereum and the altcoins are not taking off because they cannot take off until this wave 2 is finally established in the Ethereum chart. So again, in contrast, while Bitcoin is already here making new, well, corrective, but still new all-time highs, Ethereum is still a far ways off because it just is one wave count behind, right? Bitcoin has already finished this. So this is why Bitcoin is already on its track somewhere here, right? So if we translate this chart to Bitcoin, Bitcoin has already established this here and is now somewhere here on its track. And Ethereum will do the same, but currently it is just still way delayed and it has to complete all the steps that Bitcoin already has completed before we can see a sustained and prolonged upwards trend here for Ethereum and probably also for the altcoins. This is our clear primary scenario. We do also have an alternative, as you can see here, and in the alternative we could already have seen the wave 2 low that we are expecting to not be in yet. We could already have seen the wave 2 low here. This would technically be possible. It's rather unlikely though. That's why we only have it at a 27% probability. Again, I'm being super transparent here with you. We only have it at 27% probability, so I would not bet anything on that. 27% is a super low probability. But I'm gonna share with you what markers we now have to pay close attention to. So regarding this alternative scenario of, again, you can see it here, 27% probability. We currently estimate that as long as we remain below these $4,107, this primary scenario completely holds true, that we are only seeing a corrective upwards move and a new lower low to follow here for Ethereum. Meaning during all this time where Bitcoin is already climbing to new all-time highs, we only see for Ethereum, let's say roughly something between 20% up to maybe potentially even 35% room to the upside, and then we will expect the final sell-off into this wave 2 target zone here, which would from current levels lead us at least 70% down. So we are talking sub $1,000. So in the meantime, it has to be admitted that Ethereum has really shown some signs of strength. So you can see this area here, this area has been a strong and super important resistance level for Ethereum. Ethereum in the past has struggled to climb above this level. Back here, for example, here again, it was rejected and then pushed down to the downside. Here then again, as soon as we approach this level, we were rejected again. Also quite a significant correction here. Let me see. Yes, 25% of a correction here. It looks like we managed to climb above and hold this resistance, which now of course becomes support. But either way, we only see this then as the foundation for this closure of the wave B corrective mode and then the final sell-off into our target zone of $500 per Ethereum on the lower boundary to 935 on the upper limit. Wild numbers, but this is what we see in the charts. I hope that was helpful to you, and up until then, see you in the next one. Take care. Bye bye.